Listen, we love that you're adventuring and all, but could you stop driving by? That'd be neat. My first passion growing up was music, and I remember actually thinking I'd rather end up in a van down by the river than not chase my passion. And that's how I was, that's how I grew up. It's funny because now it's sort of the dream. But then at some point along the line, I picked up a camera because I wanted to record myself, like do vocal covers and stuff like that. And that was the original intent of picking up a camera. And then I realized at some point Instagram was cool and shooting photos for Instagram was cool. So I started learning about how like to shoot better and got connected with a community back in Indianapolis called the 317 Shooters, and we would like get out and shoot all the time and just have fun and whatnot. But sort of during, I guess, those years, I spent a lot of time trying to get out of Indy. I was a part of multiple ministries and things. One of them took me to Hawaii. That same one took me to Fiji. Another one took me to Ferguson during the middle of the protests and things. And so I got to see a lot, like I experienced a lot of different things. And so sort of jumping out in faith has not been a new concept to me. I've done so many things where it's just like things, they never work out the way you expect, but they always do work out. I've always had that mentality of like, if it's something that I feel like I should do, I'm gonna do it and it'll work itself out somehow or another. Like I've always felt like God has my back. But I was married for a couple of years. After I sort of stepped out of ministry, I ended up getting married to somebody that grew up in Australia. It made sense for us to try to move there. After a lot of different challenges and things, she ended up having an affair after we got back from in Indy, and we had actually filed bankruptcy and everything, planned on never coming back to America, or at least not for years. We planned on being over there for a while. We got kind of screwed over by her family and we ended up coming back, and that was the heaviest and hardest time of my life, and like I had never felt that broken before. And it was during that time that I actually started talking to Brady, who runs Go Fast Don't Die, on the internet, and I found out later that he had a similar story, but at the time I didn't realize that. His outlook on life and sort of the ethos of Go Fast Don't Die, like chase your fears or risk happy or, you know, clock stick and start living, those kind of phrases that they spit, and like the ethos behind all of that, it appealed to me. It spoke to something in me that I think I always grew up knowing. I just hadn't pursued enough. So we had started having some conversations on Instagram and through DMs and things, and he kind of inspired me in a lot of ways, and it's one of the reasons why I ended up getting a motorcycle. So over the course of about a year, I like learned how to ride and things, and I sort of like was repairing myself emotionally and mentally, and sort of refinding my faith and things. About a year ago, I actually rode out to Tennessee. These guys were down there, and I met them for the first time, and I remember thinking like, wow, these guys have a real community and they live life really, like they just live it. Like, and I decided that that's what I wanted to do. I got home and I just had been thinking about van life for a while, and I was like, you know what? It's the one thing that makes the most sense. Like, eliminate all my overhead and hit the road and live in a van, because, you know, finding an apartment out west would probably be expensive, and going and living was the goal, so I was just gonna go live. And so within about a week, I sold the motorcycle that I had, bought this van, and I worked at a metal fabrication shop at the time, so I got to work. Chopped the roof off, raised it up, built the whole thing. That was, I wanna say, August that I bought the van. I moved into it in December, sort of finished it up through the spring months, and in April, I packed everything up and I rolled out here to Wyoming. We had some sort of some conversations about like me possibly working with them. So I wasn't sure like if I was even gonna have a income at all. I just saved up some money and went. Things worked out. Now I'm on contract with them, slinging a camera around, and it's been honestly the best freaking summer of my life. It's been so good. Having this bike has been awesome because it's dual purpose, so I can go anywhere. And this season, being out here in Wyoming with those guys that are so much more skilled than me, it's helped me to really like improve my riding significantly. Like, I'd never ridden dirt before, And I've sort of learned how to throw this super heavy bike around. The more I've improved with my riding, and the more I've found like these mountain passes that are really twisty and stuff, and the more fun it gets to be like pushing the bike as hard as I can. I was over in South Dakota actually, and we were riding a road out by Mount Rushmore, and there's little like full circle hairpin turns where you come back up over the road you were just on a bridge, and I leaned it as far as it could, and it actually slipped out from underneath me a little bit. Thankfully I had these boots on because I was able to kick the ground and stay up. Most of the people in the group, like in the community, they're mostly really authentic people. Everybody's pretty like intentional with how everyone's doing, and I've noticed that they actually live life together. Whether it be spending a night working on motorcycles in the garage and just a bunch of us freaking hanging out, or whether it be going out to dinner or going camping, or like a couple of us have vans, and so relating on those levels. And then some of like the other like I think I mentioned earlier, Brady and I have been through some similar things. Brett and I have been through some similar things, and so being able to be around some people that have been through the same stuff and like live life together, that's been super huge for me, because I always craved that, and I didn't feel like I had that much in Indy. I had some community, but it wasn't like, it was very limited on the things that I was actually interested in, if that makes sense. And so being in a community that's that authentic but also is stoked on the same things I'm stoked about has been massive. The van lifers thing, a lot of them spend a lot of time on the road by themselves, and that's cool for a portion of the time, but you'll notice that a lot of them do end up connecting, and I think that it really is like a necessity. You can, like, there people that are introverted and want to spend time alone, like that makes complete sense, but I think without some semblance of community, I think that's a big reason why so many more people these days are more depressed than they ever have been, because they're not like living life together. They're just living through each other on social media. And yeah, we're more connected than ever, but we're also like less in each other's lives, I feel like. And so I do think it's the most important thing, at least this side of heaven. Most people envision doing a thing, and they want to do a thing, but they get hung up on, it's the same thing. Like, I feel like it's the same as chase your fears. Like, they get hung up on the what ifs, or the, maybe it won't. So instead of taking the actual risk to maybe be happy, we tend to get comfortable in our misery, because unfortunately most people would rather be comfortable than go find happiness somewhere else. And so risk happy to me is like, go do the thing. You only got one life. You don't want to live it miserable. Nobody does. I don't want to look back on my deathbed and think, man, I should have done all those things. I'd rather be like looking back happy at all the memories I made, even if it hurts. Like if I wreck on a dirt road, or if something happens that's super crazy and it's like, ow, that sucked. As long as it's a good story and like, I was chasing the happiness, I think the risk was worth it, because I spent a lot of years, especially in my teen years, being somewhat depressed. And I think I found in the risk like exhilaration and things that make me thrive, or make me feel alive. I would rather be out here potentially getting hurt, or potentially running out of money, or maybe like running out of gas one day. Like, I broke down like 2 hours from where I was supposed to be going one night, and waited for, it was probably 5 hours before a tow truck finally showed up. And I had the opportunity to be like super annoyed, and like a lot of people would have been like, yeah, well, that wasn't worth it, was it? And honestly, the day that I had that day was so damn good that 5 hour wait for a tow truck was nothing to me. I was so stoked still, which has been a very significant change of my own mindset, because even a few years ago I would have been like immediately like super frustrated that like I didn't do something different, or I was waiting for them. But instead it was like I had such a good day that day. I rode all like across the eastern part of the states from Indiana to North Carolina, and got broke down in South Carolina, and it was just like, man, I'm out here living life. I can't be mad at the fact that I'm broke down because I'm like really living. So that's sort of what it is to me, is risking everything with the potential of happiness. And even if it doesn't turn out the way that you expect it to, which it never does, like I found it to pretty much always be worth it. You know, sometimes it really sucks, but either it's a blessing or a lesson. And if it's a lesson, it's a blessing. So it's always a blessing. So that's how I kind of see it. Life, love, the pursuit of happiness. That flower is pretty neat. Think about flowers, then my next thought might be, I don't know. Well, bees. Bees keep the world running. I don't know.